So this is going to be part 2. We're going to start with electrical. And I'm going to start by laying out my plug box locations of where we want plugs in here. So that way when I go to run my wires, everything's already where I need it. I just got to make my drills and then run my runs. So I'm going to put the camera down. I'm going to turn the camera off, and I'm going to decide where we want all of our plugs to go, and then get them all mounted to the studs. And then the next step will be bringing in the breaker box and figuring out where I want the breaker box to go in its spot over here. And once that's hung, then I will move on to putting insulation up, so that way I can run the wires in front of the insulation on the inside of the wall instead of being on the outside. So I will come back to you here in a little bit. Alright, so we got roughed in our boxes. So we're going to have the light switch here for the light inside and the light over the windows on the outside. We've got 1, 2, 3 plugs for equipment. We have the little small 2-gallon water heater that's going to plug in there. It's going to be a plug-in unit that runs off of 115 or whatever. I have the AC plug up here. We have a plug for a point of sale. And then we have some plugs over here for phone charging, and then down here because we're going to put a chest freezer right there for all of the ice. So then I got the box mocked up right here. I've got to get a different breaker. I get a 30 amp for here to wire the generator into. This is 100 amp. I'm going to use this breaker to tap into my box on the side of the house over there, so that way I can put a RV hookup plug, so we can just back the trailer up to that pole and plug directly into it to keep the freezers and refrigerator and stuff running whenever we're not on location. I can just run off of the meter pole out there and keep everything frozen and cold. So now I got that all done. I got to go get my drill bit so I can start making my run holes, and then I can start mocking in my wiring to each box all the way down and bring it up. I can probably go ahead, I'll probably go ahead and hook up my breakers, my 30 amp for the water heater, 30 amp for the AC, and then everything else is going to be 20 amps. I got 120 amp for the plugs on the inside, 120 amp for the switch for the 2 lights, and then I'm going to have 120 amp ran for this side of the power, and I'm going to drop a power outlet on the outside also on this side of the building over here, just so we got the power out there. But that's what we got so far, so I'm going to go find my needed tools and start making a big mess cutting holes in these walls. Alright, so just to kind of show you exactly what I'm doing, this isn't really this isn't a how-to, this is just showing what I did to wire. So that's my disclaimer. I'm sure I'm going to piss off some YouTube electricians, but this is what I did. It's going to work for me, but I got all my runs. So we got everything ran. Goes down to each plug. Daisy chains around. And these are my switches. I got all 4 ran. And I go up to the ceiling. I got my drop. And then my drop outside. So like I said, this was just a quick video on the part 2 of this series, just to show you it's not really difficult to run the power. This is how you do it. There's videos on the internet that show you how to hook up to your box, but I mean, I can give you a brief what I'm going to do because I'm running off the generator. So I'm going to have 1 more drop coming out to a plug down here for my generator plug. It's going to come in and it's going to feed power. I got to go get a 30 amp breaker, but it's going to feed power into both of these, and then I'll have my neutral and my ground, and then everything else is just simple. You got your 3-wire setup, you got your ground, your neutral, and your power wire. It's going to go to each breaker for each one of these wires that I have here. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 drops. So I've got exactly the amount of breakers I need to hook it up. I just got to finish. I got to get my wire, plug in my plug for my generator, strip all these back, put them in, and then put in every single outlet all the way around, and that will wrap up the electrical. But I didn't want to really get too in-depth in this one because it was a really quick project. It didn't take but maybe, I think I'm like 2 hours into this to do all my runs, drills, all that. Pretty quick once you get the building built to run some kind of power. It's getting dark, I got a light outside in here. I just have an extension cord running the AC just to get some cool air in here, but I think that's about it. If you have any questions, put them down below. I'll do my best to answer them. We are moving on to insulation in the ceiling, so that way I can get the ceiling hung and get these boards here, the bead board for the ceiling, installed and off the floor, and the ceiling will be wrapped up. All I will have to deal with next is insulating all these walls and getting my boards up for my walls, cutting my plugs, all that fun stuff. So that's gonna wrap up the electrical. Like I said, any questions, put them down below and I will do my best to answer them. I'm not a certified electrician. I'm a at-home DIYer. I wired up my shed, I wired up my mom's shed. So I just taught myself, and I'm not really too worried about this system because it's completely dead once the generator's off. I can unplug the generator and no power's in here. So this is a very simple setup. If you're doing a food truck trailer from scratch, this is a very simple wiring setup, not very in-depth. So I will catch you on part 3, which is going to be insulation, ceiling, and walls, probably all wrapped up into one video. So I'm gonna start filming that one now. Catch you on the next one.